In the 1950s, in a small, predominantly white town in the American South, lived a man named Thomas Carter. Thomas, a proud African American, had served his country with honor during World War I fighting in some of the most brutal battles of the Pacific. When he returned home, the horrors of war had left deep scars on his mind, but he was determined to live a peaceful life with his wife, Clara, and their two young children, in the hope that his service would guarantee them a better future. Their house, though modest, stood on a quiet street where most of the neighbors had known each other for generations. Unfortunately, not everyone shared the same vision for racial equality that Thomas held. His neighbors, including a family named the Harpers, were known for their staunch, old-fashioned views. They made no secret of their discomfort with the presence of an African-American family in their neighborhood. But Thomas, unwavering in his pride and commitment to family, simply did his best to be a good father and husband, never engaging with the bitterness that came his way. Despite the passive hostility, Claire and Thomas remained hopeful that things would improve for their children, that they might grow up in a world where color wouldn't define their worth. One fateful summer, a tragedy struck the Harper family. Their teenage son, Billy, had been drafted and was sent overseas to fight in the Korean War. When the news came that Billy had been killed in action, the town was filled with sorrow. But no one felt the weight of the loss more than the Harper family. On the day of Billy's funeral, Thomas and his family stood quietly in the back, as was customary. But they knew they would not be welcomed at the front. As the mourners filed out of the church, Thomas noticed Mr. Harper standing alone at the gravesite, looking utterly broken. With no words to say, Thomas approached him slowly, his heart full of empathy for the man who had never been kind to him without a word. Thomas removed something from his jacket pocket, a tarnished but well-worn medal from his own time in the service. He extended it to Mr. Harper, a silent gesture of solidarity and respect. It was a medal for valor, awarded to Thomas for his actions in battle. Mr. Harper looked at it, then back at Thomas, his face trembling. For the first time, he saw the man before him, not as a black man, but as a fellow soldier, a fellow human who had fought for the same freedom his own son had died for. The years of prejudice and disdain began to crumble within him. Without a word, he reached out and took the medal, tears welling up in his eyes. "I never understood," Mr. Harper said, his voice thick with emotion. "I was blind. I never saw you as the man you are. But today, I see you, and I'm sorry." That moment marked a profound change. The days that followed weren't perfect, but they were better. Slowly, the Harper family began to reach out to Thomas and Clara, trying to bridge the gap they had once so fiercely defended. Over the years, their once persistent racial tension faded into respectful acknowledgement, as the generations of hatred melted away under the weight of shared human experience. The medal, which had once been a symbol of conflict, became a beacon of understanding, showing that change often comes not through words, but through actions, and sometimes, even the smallest gestures can bring about the biggest transformations.